KUHSdenver.com. Just loving the Santana music here on the Block Party. Yes, the Block Party, we have somebody very special coming on here in about 30 seconds. Crystal Elliott, and we're going to talk to her about 3 different things: the census, a little bit about Food for Hope, and we're also going to talk to her about her cooking, but she just informed me she may not be in the running. But so what? We're going to still talk to her about it. With that being said, we're going to get started right now talking to Crystal Elliott. Hi, Crystal. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon, Henry. I'm doing fine. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing absolutely marvelous. Yeah, this is going to be great. And Crystal, I'm going to let you take the screen for a little bit. And,
sure.
And you introduce yourself a little more and let everybody know who you are. And at the same time, let's go over the 3 subjects I mentioned, and maybe talk to us a little bit about Food for Hope, and then I'll be right back in 2 shakes of a dead lamb's tail.
Certainly. All right, wonderful. Thank you, Henry. So again, my name is Crystal Elliott. This will be the 3rd time that I've been on KUHS Denver Live. Back in 2015, when I was running for re-election for City Council in Commerce City, myself and my
so again, my name is Crystal Elliott. This will be the 3rd time that I've been on KUHS Denver Live. Back in 2015, when I was running for re-election for City Council in Commerce City, myself and my former teacher, David Rolla, were guests on KUHS. And so, and then I was on, I was on KUHS earlier to talk about the census. And so, a little bit of who I am. Adams City graduate, class of 1987. I'm a mother of 3, 2 older daughters, a younger son. I currently work for Adams County in the Community Safety and Wellbeing Department. Originally, I was a census liaison working on the census with our colleagues at the United States Census Bureau. But now my role has transitioned into other types of outreach, inclusive of neighborhood outreach, homelessness outreach, and so I wanted to, perspective of what's been going on during the pandemic. A lot of people had to make alternative plans and go to Plan B, Plan Z, whatever it turned out to be. And so I just wanted to give a little bit of a synopsis on census. But first and foremost, I just would like
last year at a fundraising gala. And what I loved about this particular organization is that they provide food for families in need, and it's through a backpack program. And so just to give a little bit of history, this began in 2014. This was a vision of a former colleague of mine, former Thornton Mayor Heidi Williams, and she was working with the pastor at Thorn Creek Church, and talked about, the fact that we have children that are hungry, and what is it that we could do as a community to be able to ensure that our families had adequate food. And so since 2014 to now, Food for Hope has done a tremendous amount of work. Right now, they're actually operating, I'm looking at my notes here, so pardon me for that, the Feed 5,000 campaign. And so what I would invite you to do is just to check out their website. They have various programs. They have weekend programs, snack programs. They actually distribute at different schools, School District 27J, Northland High School, and just to name a few. But the Feed 5,000 program is definitely something that has been aware of the need that has increased tremendously due to the pandemic. A lot of our food distributions were under duress, or are under duress, just for the simple fact that the pandemic has really affected a lot of families and increased the need for seeking resources and food. And so the Feed 5,000 program is actually kicking off this week, where we have several volunteers that put together these food boxes and deliver them to families, obviously for the need, but specifically for Thanksgiving holidays. So I would definitely encourage you to just check out the website. There's a lot of information, but I'm proud because I'm actually a brand new board member on Food for Hope. And so I am super excited because this is right in my wheelhouse. I love working with communities. I love volunteering. And so just recently volunteered over the last few weeks. We did some food deliveries to two of the Brighton elementary schools, their snack program, and some of the other foods that they also receive. And then just recently, this week, we did some setup for the food packing distributions. And these distributions are pretty vast. They're well over 1,200 distributions weekly, and it's only unfortunately increasing. So again, I invite you to check out the website. I would really appreciate your support. This is something that I'm truly passionate, and I feel very fortunate for being able to be a part of this organization.
And Crystal, that was well said. I mean, you put that together right. And it's located right off 120th and about Colorado Boulevard at the church. Is that correct? Right next to Ace Hardware.
Church. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, how can you can go and get baskets? Can people go there and receive turkeys and baskets, or you deliver, or you have to apply for it?
You have to apply. I know that what the dilemma and this could have very well changed, and I'm hoping that it has changed. But being able to secure enough turkeys for these, particular distributions, apparently. The information that I have received very early on that there was actually a shortage of turkeys for Thanksgiving meals.
Isn't that something?
I'm hoping that this has changed since I last got the update a few days ago. But yeah, I mean, definitely look into it. We and again, I'm plugging this organization for the simple fact of the work that they do. It's a tremendous effort that they achieve, and they could use the help both financially and with volunteers as well. But also along those lines, I do work with other food distributions, and I'll allude to that a little more so when I talk about census efforts. But Adams County is also hosting some food distributions. In fact, they've had one every 2 weeks at different locations. One we had in Westminster, one was in Bennett, one just 2 weeks ago was in Welby area, and then earlier this week was again in Westminster at their Human Services building. So if there are folks out there that are in need, there are definitely various distributions out there, but also I would invite them that they can also contact me for further information. I'll provide my email address. Or I don't know if can we type it on the screen, or should I just spell it out?
Yeah, usually I can type it on the screen, but usually I'm the producer, but I'm actually being the host at the same time.
No worries.
Usually I can get it up on the screen, pop it up right in there for you. And so, Crystal, you've done a lot of good things, and one thing that you were in here for was talking about the census. Yes. Now the census went kind of bloop. Like all of a sudden turned off. Give us a little history of the census, how it started, what happened, and how it just got shut off, and how good the census is for counting to distribute lots of funding to various communities, and that means a lot to a lot of the communities.
It's vital. It is very important. And when I first started this position, my role was basically to do census outreach and education in our communities as far as how important the census is and the funding that our communities receive. And so the first piece of information that I shared with everyone was that back in 2010 up through current, over 125,000 people residing in Adams County did not participate in the census. There's varying factors, but basically what you look at, and actually I bring this into perspective as well, what we're experiencing now during a pandemic, and looking at the opportunity missed, if you will, that we had over 125,000 people that did not participate in the census. That equates to several millions of dollars that Adams County did not receive. And so now you look where we're at 10 years, fast forward in the middle of a pandemic, those funds definitely could have been put to good use, mostly by our agencies that are providing services and programs for our communities. And so it's been a year and a half of outreach, being anywhere, whether it was, fortunately on a show like this, a Rotary meeting, a lunch and learn, a city-sponsored event, anywhere that we could be. It was just very important to educate our communities on the importance of the census and the simplicity of the census. Of completing the survey online. This is the first time that the census was available to complete online. Originally, there were discussions, if you will, of the citizenship question. And I know we alluded to that in the previous interview. And I think that's where our work was definitely more challenging for the simple fact that we did not want folks to be afraid of any type of census efforts. It's a population count. So
and here's the other thing too.
Just a population count.
Yeah, Crystal, if you notice this too, it's almost like the people who go around knocking on doors and talking about religion. That's how they would feel about the census takers.
Sure.
It's like, no,
Sure.
don't answer the door, don't answer the door, it's the census takers. And,
Sure.
and they're legally here and everything. It's just something about it that they feel like they're intruding on who they are, why they live there and all this kind of thing. They feel frightened sometimes, and that was kind of something that kind of went over people too. Like you said, even if they were here illegally even or whatever, people would be afraid for some reason. And you guys did a fine job of going out there and knocking on doors and all these different people of all different colors, of all different ethnicities, so they feel comfortable going into their neighborhoods.
Yes, everyone counts. It doesn't matter. And again, we had to go against that message that was out there for the simple fact that it's not a matter of immigration status. It's not a matter of citizenship status, whether or not people residing in our communities are, legal or illegal, whatever that matter. It's purely a population count. And so we were working with our community organizations that work with those populations that are historically considered hard to count populations. They're low response census tracts all throughout the county, just sprinkled all throughout different areas of different cities and towns. And so once we could get past, okay, is the citizenship question going to be on the census or is it not? Once it was voted that no, it has no relevance on being included on the census, then we moved at lightning speed, continued to broadcast at any platform on any platform that we could, and then you have the pandemic. So our plans, and I just have to brag about this because I'm really proud of the efforts that the county and our group did, but we were awarded second largest grant that was awarded by the state of Colorado for census outreach purposes.
Well, Adams County and all of the cities are relatively big and they're spread out. So there's lots and lots of people within the Adams County area. Is that correct? So there was a lot.
The Adams County landscape is a very diverse landscape. You have a lot of agricultural areas, rural areas, and we're just spread out so vastly. But we were very fortunate to receive $420,000 in grant funds, which we divided amongst all of the cities and towns in Adams County. And the intent for these funds was to create, community hubs. So we wanted to create these hubs where people can come in if they didn't have the access to technology or they didn't understand the technology. The first thing we were promoting is complete your census online. Well, that's not easy for everyone. So we figured if we create these community hubs all throughout the county, whether it's our local libraries, our schools, or back to school evenings, or where the students could bring their parents, a coffee shop, a nonprofit organization, city hall, right? Anywhere that we could have the technology and the accessibility for our residents, that was the key.
And you know what, Crystal, don't you think that this pandemic has pushed so many people into technology, whether they like it or not? They have to learn it or get on it and learn it. But the only setback on some of these people, they don't have the access to the internet or to go online to, put all this together. That was another setback. But overall, you guys did a really good job because I kept seeing the census out there everywhere. Everywhere I turned, it was like TV, it'd be on radio, it'd be here, it'd be everywhere. So I kept seeing it. You guys are doing a fabulous job. But in this same breath, all of a sudden the census stopped. Can you give us a rundown on that?
Sure, definitely. So, with the plans of operating these community hubs, we'd actually had 2 of them in place already open, and then everything just shut down. And we had to pivot. We had to think quickly. We had grant funding that we had dedicated for these efforts. So we had to think of ways of being virtual at any area all throughout the county. And so what we decided to do was to support our local food distributions. And so by supporting, we provided financial support with the messaging of census branded items attached to these distributions. So we supported distributions such as Food for Hope was one of them, Adams County Food Bank, Growing Home, Senior Hub, Westminster Public Schools, School District 27J, Adams 14, and then we had other faith-based distributions as well. And
you spread the love is more or less what you were doing, spreading it out to make sure it gets to all over the place. Mm-hmm.
Right, and so that was our plan, was to basically have any type of census messaging, whether it was a flyer or a postcard. We went even a step further. We purchased various types of items of use, right? So that we had lip balm that had the You Count census messaging on it. Bottles of hand sanitizer, masks, those were the things that were well in need. And so that's how we were continuing our messaging because of the social distancing protocols and because of everything that was going along with the pandemic. And those were the populations that we were trying to reach.
And Crystal, you did a fine job. Like I said, I've seen the census everywhere. Like you said, on masks, I've seen it, posters everywhere. I've seen them on TV. I've seen it everywhere. And you guys are getting the count done. Now, go over how you would hire certain people and individuals and just, decipher who would work best in each community. You had to have a protocol of how you did that. And you may want to share with our audience how that was done.
Sure. And just to kind of tie in, with all those efforts, again, we tried to really support the agencies that were under duress, providing services that they didn't have the bandwidth to. And so then you also, so I'm going to allude to the employment aspect now. I don't represent the Census Bureau, but I worked with colleagues with the Census Bureau. And so far as the hiring, they really wanted to hire people from within the community that they resided in or worked in, because those are trusted voices. Those are people that could speak the same language, have the same culture, have that trust that's built. And so that's what the Census Bureau, that's what their tactic was as far as hiring folks. It was good money. But again, with everything with the pandemic, the census completion date was extended because of the pandemic. Then we went back to, we're not going to do it, we're not going to continue on through October 31st, we're going to go back to September 30th. And so all of us, we were all just, we didn't really know how to proceed. Do we keep on going? Do we stop? And so it was really unfortunate that when everything ended, it ended. I mean, it was just very abrupt. We all worked so hard, diligently. I mean, anywhere that you could be visible. We were even at our local markets, our Asian Pacific Islanders communities, our Hispanic communities.
That's what I was telling you, Crystal. You were hitting it, and you guys are on point. You were one of the best census takers, I think. The Adams County Organization of Census Taking was one of the best. I really liked it. Now, one of the questions is probably everybody's asking, the billions of dollars that are going to be allocated or would have been allocated, what happens to the money? Does it just get frozen up, or what happens?
Well, that, and I don't have the specifics on that, but one thing I do want to say that despite all of the obstacles that we faced, all the challenges, all the stresses, are we ceasing, are we continuing, are we standing still? We still exceeded our 2010 response rates. Colorado as a whole exceeded by 3.5%. We still have data that's coming in, because of the fact that there's still a lot of work after the fact. Final census response rates will be released in April 2021. But Adams County, we did very well. We were at less than 70% in 2010, and we exceeded by 4%, so we were at 73%.
And that's what I read about the census. You guys are way up. That's why I wanted to commend you guys for doing such a fine job. That was really, and to me, it's like I watched it abruptly stop, just like you did. And it ends jobs for all the census takers.
Right, which was unfortunate.
It ends jobs for a lot of people. It's like, whoa. And you know, to me, I thought, whoa, I thought it was a cool job. You go out and talk to people and get out and about, but. And let's talk about some of the census takers in some of the areas would go out and about, but I know some of them would run into kind of problems. That you go over some of the things they would run into. I'm sure you know they'd come back and give you their stories. God, I was almost threatened. Oh God, I got told off and doors slammed in my face, stuff like that. Give us a few you know, things. Tell us a few stories.
The things that I heard, and not necessarily from my colleagues, because they were, you know, categorized in a different role, but from what I understood from the enumerators, those were the folks that were going door to door. They would have a list of homes and they would go knock on the door to try to get folks to, you know, complete their census. But we're in the middle of a pandemic. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of mistrust. There's a lot of fear for the simple fact of, I don't know who this person is. They claim that they're with the Census Bureau. And I will have to attribute to that to their defense. They would carry their identification in a badge, and they would identify themselves clearly. But they did face a lot of positive interactions, but the negative interactions.
There's some out there, yes, and that's what I was worried.
People do not want to provide any information. They feel like their privacy is being invaded.
Get the heck out of here.
Trespassing on my property. You know, you've heard those things. I can't say I've heard them directly, but those are things that are out in, you know, just nationally, just things that I've heard. And so, really, these enumerators had to go into it with the mindset knowing that people, if they weren't trusting before, that level of fear or level of trust has increased tremendously due to the nature of the pandemic.
But you trained everybody how to walk up, how to present yourself, how to smile. A smile always breaks the ice. He said, hello, I'm with the census, and there's all these variables in how to approach these, you know, homes and these areas. There's just a special way, and I'm sure you had the training for everybody and went over everything and how to back out of danger and all these different variables that you would do. And I think, like I said, you guys did a fine job because I watched it. You know, it's like, because, you know, I know you, Crystal, and I know the kind of job you had. It's not easy. It's very difficult.
It wasn't easy, but I loved it.
That's what I'm saying. You're good at it.
A lot of wonderful people. Some of the folks that I met through census outreach efforts, I consider them not just colleagues, but friends.
Right.
And really what I think, what was really, just if I had to provide one, you know, synopsis of positivity, is the fact that people did not understand, and after a brief conversation and talking to them about the importance of you know, this is your community, you're invested in your community, and you need the representation. We all need this. We're all fighting for our spot on this earth, and I think that was really the nature of just bringing community together.
Now, you know, Crystal,
you need a sense of community.
You know, I love talking about the census, but I want to move on to exposing what you do. And you were in running for this cooking. Give us an idea of what you were doing with this cooking that you were doing as competing. You were, and when we talked, you were still competing, but you said you got knocked out of the top 5. And so a lot of people don't know this about Crystal, that she's one heck of a cook. And she would cook up all these nice things, and she goes, I just fell into it. Sure you did. She knows how to cook really well. So let's go over some of that stuff and how this happened, and you'll get a different other side of Crystal right now.
Okay.
So aside
not
from,
so serious side.
Yeah, but this is the happy side of Crystal. And so tell us about it, Crystal.
Okay. So I'm a baker. I actually have been baking for probably over 25 years. I started off baking cakes for my kids for their birthdays. Then it turned into, well, I'd love to order a cake from you, whether it was somebody from work or whatever. And so I ended up turning it into a little side hustle called Crystal's Creations. And so, you know, now we're in a time of uncertainty and you know, time to reinvent yourself. And I'm I'm currently a student at Metro State, and I'm a sophomore, so I've been in school for 2 years. And so balancing I take 3 classes, balancing home, family, demanding job when things were really crazy with census efforts, and then just in general life. I didn't bake nearly as much as I had before. I would always do things for the holidays, specifically, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then I would do things for graduations or weddings as well. But I had to scale back because I'm a one-woman show. It's just me. I don't have, I have some help with family if I need help folding boxes or helping with deliveries, but that's it. And so it wasn't until just a few weeks ago I had been approached by a few people and said, Crystal, there's this greatest baker contest. You should totally do it. And it's like, well, I don't know. Let me think about it. Well, I read up on it, and I said, well, I'm gonna enter. Let's see. So I submitted some pictures, a little bit about myself, my history, and things like that, biography, if you will. And so I was accepted into the contest. And so, really, what it was is just a matter of, and this was hosted by a 2-time winner, Jen Barney, with the Food Network. So she knows her stuff. She knows how to compete. But this contest really, the first prize winner would have won will win a $10,000 cash prize and then a feature in their Baked from Scratch magazine and all the accolades and all the other fun stuff that goes along with it. I held my spot up until Wednesday.
And that's when we talked.
Yeah, I was in the top 10 within my group, and then to continue on, they narrowed it down to the top 5, and I placed 7th. My friends were voting every day. I promoting it every social media platform. The one thing with this contest is that you get to the top by votes, by your clientele, by your audience, and I was hoping and ready to bake. Right, I refined a recipe of a cake that I've done numerous times over the years, similar to the Spring Fling, but mine's a little bit different. And so I was doing, some taste testing and refining. And when I found out that really the only way you win this contest is through popular vote, I was a little bummed out, because I was ready to bake. But I just want to thank for all my friends and family and all my supporters. I mean, they were voting daily. I was posting. I was probably getting on everyone's nerves. Vote for me, vote for me. But Henry, I was up against some stiff competition. There were entries that or competitors that were well established in their culinary, dreams, if you will. I did go to culinary school for a year. I attended the Art Institute for baking and pastry. I did have to stop. I had an illness that required me to just stay put for, at least a semester or 2. And then unfortunately I didn't return because life happened. And
I like the way you put that, life happened. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Life happens and takes you a different route.
Life happens. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I never continued that dream at that level, but I've always baked. And so, but some of these competitors were well established. They had a business, or they had a culinary background, or you had home bakers like me that, just kind of did things on the side. So there was just a mix of folks that were in this competition.
Well, even though you're a home baker, some of the best home bakers become very big. And it's because you're not only baking, but you're putting that love into it that just permeates off your goods, and that's just the way it works.
Definitely bake from love. I've done some really lavish events. I've catered events for Fitzsimmons. There was an organization that had this really nice event with about 500 people, and I made close to 1,200 cookies, just a variety of cookies, and
everybody loved them too.
Yes.
Well,
so things like that. I've catered weddings, but again, with my schedule and returning back to school, and school is really important for me. I love school. I just had to give something up, and then unfortunately it was the baking. But now I'm back on because I've had a lot of people asking me, "Are you going to do anything for the holidays?" And it's like, well, I can do it. If I just carve out a 6-week period, I can definitely do it.
You're listening to KUHS radio TV station here in Denver. You're listening to Crystal Elliott, guest. And we got to hear a lot in a short period, but the time went really fast, didn't it? 30 minutes went really fast.
I can talk a lot, Henry. You should know this. I have a lot to say.
But we want to bring you all the community leaders, such as Crystal, and bring all her side of what she's doing. And if you notice, KUHS has been doing lots and lots of community outreach. I mean, we have been directly into the community with Food Bank of the Rockies, the Food for Hope, all the different variables from City of Thornton, City of Aurora, for Connect for Health Colorado, all these different organizations. We're reaching out there. And this is a beautiful platform that we've had for a long time, and you get to hear lots of different things, such as Crystal Elliott. And I hope you enjoyed this session with us here on KUHSdenver.com. Crystal, anything you'd like to say to the audience before we say goodbye?
You know what, Henry, thank you so much for this opportunity. You were able to respond quickly. There were some things I really wanted to just broadcast out to the community. And for those out there listening, thank you so much for considering any of the organizations that I mentioned. This is a time of giving. Our communities are we're suffering. People are suffering. And so I think it's really time to reflect and lend a helping hand to someone that that might be in need. And I'll provide my email address if there's any interest in finding out.
Go ahead and say it right now,
just
Crystal. Go ahead and say it right now if you can.
Okay, so my email address, again, my name is Crystal Elliott. My email address is CELLIOTT@adco.gov.org.
Thank you so much, Crystal. This is real. I really like having you on. Like you said, you make for a very good guest, because some people won't talk. You have to drag it out of them. With you, it's easy.
You have
because
to stop me.
You have to stop me. That's funny. Okay, Crystal, thank you for being on. And until next time, we'll get back to the music and enjoy your evening, enjoy your day. See you later, Crystal. Thank you for being on.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And with that being said...
It's the red light special, but I swear ain't no stopping this yellow ghost shine.